So I'm very excited here to see where everyone's from. So I'm going to welcome you today. My name is Lawrence Casimir. I'm at home in Modi'in. I guess co-hosting this webinar. I'm joined from Noah. I'm joined with by Noam in Eilat, Nadav in Khulabadi, Yuval in Ariel Sharon Park, which is near Tel Aviv, and Amir and Alen in Jerusalem. We also have Yoav with us. Before I throw over to the birding experts, I'm just going to say a few words about who we are. We are the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel, Israel's oldest and largest environmental NGO. We're not for profit, we are a charity. We can only do this because of your support. So thank you very much to everyone who's donated to us in the last year. We really, really appreciate it. I'm joined by the BirdLife Israel team, who are our birding unit. Their job is to protect and preserve Israel's native and migrating birds, securing the future of the flyway and the biodiversity on 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. At the moment, we're at the end of the autumn or fall migration, with birds flying down from Europe, from across Europe and Western Asia, down via the Israeli bottleneck through to Africa, where most of these birds are going to spend the winter. I'm just going to say a few quick words of congratulations to Noam in Eilat and his team at the International Birding and Research Center in Eilat for being one of 19 projects which were recognized as outstanding by the UN Conference of Parties at the UN Biodiversity Conference, which was about 3 weeks ago. So well done to you all. For those of you who watch a lot, you'll definitely understand why Noam and his team have been recognised in this way. So for those of you who are newer to us, I'm just going to say that some of the things the committee recognised in particular was their work in the community, recruiting decision makers to get behind them, and the needs to protect the Eilat as a crucial stop on the migration route. And also Noam's work with Ein Netafim and the salt company Malach Haaretz, working with them to create biodiversity-friendly habitats while enabling the 2 companies to continue to continue their normal business operations. So well done, Noam. And on that note, I'm going to turn my screen off and make it a bit easier for everyone to see everyone else. I'm going to throw over to Yoav, who is our the new head of BirdLife Israel. So Yoav, over to you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, so I'm thrilled to be here in this webinar as director of BirdLife Israel for the first time. It's really wonderful to see already all the birds on the screen. Our fantastic team are out in the field. I'll show you the best of the birding that Israel has to offer this time of year. The weather here is still fantastic, and there are lots of birds on the move. And you'll see all we have on the screen. As always, huge appreciation to Tzvika Yador. Tzvika Yador continuously supports our webinars, both in English internationally and in Hebrew for our local audience. Without Tzvika's support, this webinar series could not have happened. So many thanks to Tzvika. It's also great to see so many people joining us from all over the world. Thank you everyone for joining today and for your ongoing support for our work here in Israel. And yeah, I think we heard enough words and we want to see some birds. So I'll hand over to Alan from the Nili and David Jerusalem Bird Observatory. And Alan will switch between the different team members in different parts of the country. So thank you and enjoy the show.
Hi everybody, and welcome to our webinar. I'm gonna get off real quick and send you guys over to Noam in Eilat. I think he has some really cool birds to show us. Enjoy the show, and hope to see you all soon here in Israel in person. And then
go Noam.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lawrence, for the warm greetings. And in Eilat, the birds are always the center, even if our way to protect them goes through our community. So thank you for the greetings. And here you see probably the classic bird of Eilat, one of the most famous migratory birds that you can almost always see here. These are the greater flamingos. You can also see that they have new generation, grown probably in Turkey or Iran, and they are now roaming our salt pan, enjoying the Artemia crabs, or actually enjoying being a bit sleepy. They have enough food, they are not disturbed here, so they can now have some sleep. Some of them already start to wake up. Most of the time, the flamingos are nocturnal. So during this hour, they're just starting to wake up. This is evening here, by the way, afternoon. So these are our magnificent flamingos, and they're just amazing. People come here to the bird sanctuary to enjoy the flamingos, to take pictures before their weddings, before their bat mitzvahs. These flamingos and the site itself has become a place where people do things that are happy. This place is connected to happiness, and birds are connected to happiness. So this is a good thing that we really like to have here at the bird sanctuary. Well, it's not just flamingos. You can see that the whole place is pretty much packed with birds. And our banks, oh, here is a nice redshank right here. The place is packed with other birds at the moment, preparing to migrate towards Africa. Here is a little egret. Sorry, not too sharp. Just a second. And a gray heron, and lots of shorebirds that are in the salt ponds. Lawrence, you mentioned the work with the Melach Haaretz, with the salt factory. Indeed, the salt factory is our partner. Is doing a lot of things together with us to improve the salt pans as an industrial and at the same time a biodiversity site for many birds. But it's not the only one. We are just starting a new project with Enetafim, with the sewage work company, with the water company of Eilat, and this is really exciting that the community of Eilat is joining and gathering in the to help the birds in the bird sanctuary. Well, so I think what we are seeing now is a Western reef heron. Actually, it's not a little egret. It has a yellow bill. It's a bit hard to see. It's far away. And this is a pretty interesting bird. While we are used to have the little egrets, the Western reef herons are actually tropical birds that likes to be on the seashore. Here it is not the seashore. We are not far though. We are about 1 kilometer from there, but it can find the time to rest and have fun also here. And they are usually eating crabs or fish along the seashore or the mangrove trees that are south of us. And it's a beautiful visitor to the bird sanctuary. And you can see the whole shore of the salt pond is dotted with the stilts, redshanks, little stints, ring plovers, greenshanks, and other shorebirds. So
okay.
just
cool.
to show
Thank you very much, Noam. We're going to go to Yuval, who has Yuval's one bird. Yuval, off you go. Where's Yuval? Yuval?
I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You've got, yeah. Here we go.
I'm right now, I'm at Ariel Sharon Park in the middle of Tel Aviv, Dan Metropolitan. It's hard to believe, but this great white egret is in the center of the busiest metropolitan in Israel. In fact, maybe one of the most crowded places in the world. But Ariel Sharon Metropolitan Park is a kind of a safe haven for birds. And above 200 bird species have been recorded here, which is unbelievable for you can call it the Israeli Central Park here in the middle of Tel Aviv. In fact, we're very close to the Mediterranean coast. And many migratory birds, especially in autumn, stop here to rest in the middle of the city. So this is a very special, very important stop point for migratory birds in the middle of the city. This is, you can call it urban bird watching at its best. We keep finding new surprises here. If we look a little bit to the right, we might see some more birds. Let's have a look. We might see some spur-winged plovers, which are spending the afternoon hours here. All of the birds are attracted to the biodiversity pool, which we are just looking at now. It's a bit an ecological pool, which was built especially for the birds. Every plant here was specially planted, and it's native to Israel. And this fact attracts a lot of birds. I hope you enjoyed a short visit to Ariel Sharon Park, enjoying the birds here. And back to you, Lawrence.
Okay, so just for those who aren't as familiar with the Ariel Sharon Park, Yuval, can you just, when we come back to you, can you just show us the mounds? So the Ariel Sharon Park is the big hill between the airport and Tel Aviv, that's where Yuval is at the moment. So are you on top?
Right now you're looking at the park. It doesn't look like the middle of the city, but we created a real haven for wildlife, birds, and people here. It's hard to believe, but the place I'm standing on was once a garbage dump, and just 15 years ago. And with a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of experts, this place was turned from a garbage dump into a real amazing garden. It's even bigger than the Central Park in New York, and it has a lot of potential. It's right now under construction, still ongoing construction, and we hope to turn it into one of the best, wildlife sites, bird sites in Israel.
Okay, guys, listen, we're on the third term of fall migration, autumn migration. And I would say the last migrating songbirds are arriving, some of which will continue on to Africa, but many of them will stay over in the Middle East, in Israel, in habitats that we're helping to conserve. Here in the Nili and David Bird Observatory, in the Bitan Ariel, in the Ariel ringing hut, we've just banded two amazing, beautiful birds. This is the band. Elena just asked me to tell you who I am. I'm Amir Balaban. I'm head of the Urban Wildlife Initiative of SPNI. And I'm also one of the founders of the JBO. So whenever I'm called to ring or guide here, I always, I love coming here. So this is a male redstart, and it's called a redstart because of its amazingly red tail. This is an adult male that just finished its breeding cycle in probably Eastern Europe, even maybe the Caucasus, Azerbaijan or Georgia, and it's heading to Eastern Africa. It will stop over in the JBO for a few days. Feed for high over the Sahara during 3 or 4 consecutive days. So our goal here is to protect this habitat for these birds. And just to compare, we also have a female here, and I will show you the female. It looks very similar, but the colors are much more camouflaged. So here we have a male and a female. This is the male.
I think we've just lost Amir's internet for a second. I'm going to give him a couple of seconds to come back, and if not, we're going to throw to Nadav.
You come to me now, Lawrence.
Yeah. I'm going to we'll throw to Nadav. Bye, Nadav. Hello, Nadav, who is in the Khula Valley with
Hi,
some
everybody.
very famous birds.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nadav from the north region. At the moment, I'm in the Khula Valley, full of birds. Khula Valley is in the north part of Israel, Mount Hermon just to the north of me, and Golan Heights to my east, and the mountains of the Galilee to the west of the valley. The Jordan River runs through the Khula Valley on its way to what used to be the Khula wetland, and from there down to the Sea of Galilee. And at the moment, this valley is like a very busy airport. Tens of millions of birds are migrating through, passerine, songbirds, waders, and so on, and of course birds of prey, and those wonderful common cranes, which are at the moment, this week we counted 56,000 of them, sorry, last week, 56,000, almost 60,000 common cranes in the Khula Valley. They were, most of them were roosting in the Agamon Khula Park, some of them in the Agamon Nature Reserve. What you can see here is a family of cranes. You can see there's a difference between the two cranes on the right. The one, now you can see their heads are up. So the one on the right is a young crane with a brown head, and the one on the left is an adult crane with a black and white pattern on its head. There's also a little bit of a red skin patch there. The cranes are highly social birds. They breed in across most of Europe and Asia, the northern parts of Europe. Do you hear me with a lot of wind as well?
Okay, Nadav, thanks very much. We're going to go to Yuval, who is watching a bird have a bath, I think.
You won't believe what I found. I just found a white wagtail doing his last bath before going to sleep. Many white wagtails have just arrived from Europe now, and they're planning to spend their winter here in Israel. Every night they gather here in Park Ariel Sharon to do a bath to meet before going to roost. They roost in the city, on trees, sometimes in the middle of the urban environment, but here they find a quiet place to rest, clean their feathers, do some preening. So it seems like the wagtails are really enjoying the afternoon here. Not only wagtails are coming, many other songbirds have arrived, but I think that's it for now.
Okay, awesome. Amir, come on, Amir, what you got in your bag behind you?
Okay, I also have a wintering bird. This bird has arrived during the last week, and it's arriving in its thousands. I mean, thousands of European robins are coming to the Middle East, and they are dispersing in parks and gardens and also woodland habitats, and they will stay with us all winter long. The European robin is a very beautiful songbird that has an amazing orange chest, whoopsie, and it has very large eyes that enable it to find insects in the understorage of the woodland. It feeds mainly on invertebrates, and it also has a most beautiful territorial song, which is heard during winter time. So if you're in Israel or in the Middle East, every morning it has this amazing soundtrack of robins singing their territorial song, and you can look it up You can Google it, and it's really, really, really a pretty song. Now, apparently the JBO is one of the best sites in Israel to watch and observe and to follow these birds, because we get the most robins banded in Israel. We have approximately 200 birds that are banded each fall from the end of October till mid-November. And we once had a robin that came every year on the 11th of November. Now in 2011, we waited for this robin, and it actually arrived at 11 o'clock. On the 11th of the 11th, 2011. That made headlines in Israel. And this is a very, very unique bird. And not only that, it's very, very faithful to its wintering quarters. So we have a responsibility managing our site, and you can see right now that we have volunteers doing some on bird, and we have lots of volunteers taking care of these beautiful habitats. So this robin, I'm going to return it back to the wild. Whoops, off it goes. And
right, we'll go to Yuval, who has two.
You won't believe what I found. Two rose-ringed parakeets standing on the tree. The rose-ringed the parakeets here in Israel are considered invasive species. Here in the center of Tel Aviv, we have issues with invasive species, but nevertheless, this bird is an amazing bird. It has a really strong beak. Originally, it's coming from Asia, India. It can eat many, many kinds of fruit and seeds. Just flew away. Maybe they saw some raptor above. Thanks.
Okay, I'm just looking at Noam. Oh, Noam has a bird. Okay, let's go to Noam, who's gone inside to his ringing station. Hey, Noam, what's in your bag?
Okay, so we now moved from the field to the ringing station. This is where we check the physical condition of our birds. And the first bird is a blue throat. Can you see it? It's pretty nice. It's a male blue throat, which is now migrating. We have a real big migration wave of blue throats in Eilat. This morning, we have seen about 200 in the bird sanctuary. So they're just everywhere. They have a beautiful pattern on the chest with blue, white, black, and red. And Iris Gorin, which is our main ringer at the moment, she's gonna check this bird, and we are gonna follow her. So this bird already got a ring, so she's not just gonna note that the number of the ring, take a few measurements. Our reason for ringing the birds in Eilat is to check their physical condition. Eilat is located on the only land bridge connecting 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa, but mainly on the edge of the Sahara Desert. So the birds that are right now in Eilat are preparing to fly from here all the way to Ethiopia, and they have just finished ringing this bird. Is it ready to go, Iris?
Almost. I just need to check the weight of the bird.
The weight of the bird. So Iris is going to weigh the bird. And these measurements, the fat that she already took, fat score, and the weight are going to tell us if this bird is actually ready to cross the Sahara Desert. 13.8 grams means it is probably not so ready. So our blue throat needs to stay here in Eilat for another day or two, get some fat on, lots of food, and then during night, is going to choose the best night to fly across the Sahara Desert all the way to Africa. So a beautiful blue throat in a sunny day in Eilat.
That is beautiful. Amir, quickly, do you have a bird? Nod your head if you have a bird. If not, we'll go to, hold on, let's go to Amir to give Amir a chance.
I don't have a bird, Lawrence, but I do have visitors in our bird hide, and that's amazing. I think some French people have just come in.
Some French people.
Where
All
from?
Right.
Where in France? Who? Normandy, fantastic. So you see, we don't only have migratory birds, we have tourists coming in to see our birds from Normandy,
Okay.
and a cute mother and their child.
Okay.
So the JBO and the SPNI are not only about birds. This is something, Lawrence, patience, this is important. We are about people.
I know, but I want to see the Arabian beater.
Listen up. So it's very important that you understand that in order to preserve birds, we have to have people on board. And now we can move on to the Arabian beater. Thank you very much.
Okay, you win, Amir.
Yes. Well, Lawrence is known to love Arabian bee-eaters. So this is, we call it the Arabian little green bee-eater. It's a resident. It's one of our loveliest birds. It is here at the bird sanctuary all year round and has a beautifully colored wing. Show them, Iris. Wow, look at this. Why is the wing so long? And why is the bill so long? Because these birds eat bees, and bees could be dangerous even for the bird. It's not immune. And first of all, to catch a bee, you need a giant wing to maneuver and trap it in the air. The long bill is to avoid being stung by the bee. They catch the bee in the edge of the bill, and they make sure that it will not sting them this way. Iris already checked this beautiful bird, and maybe showed the amazing tail it has. This is how they maneuver between the bees, trying to catch them in the air. It's a very wide and special kind of tail made just for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Noam. Yuval has a bird.
And we have...
So it's a very productive day at Ariel Sharon Park. I've just found a white-breasted kingfisher. It's a distant relative of the beater. You can say both are breeding, nesting in cavities, in holes in the walls. The white-breasted kingfisher is one of 3 kingfishers we have here in Israel. And its status is, it's coming from Asia, from India, through Sri Lanka, all over the Middle East to Israel. And the interesting thing about this kingfisher is that it's not dependent on water. It might be found in parks in the middle of the city. It can eat small rodents and small mammals and birds. It's a very skillful hunter and just a pretty sight here in Park Ariel Sharon in the afternoon.
Amazing. All right, let's go back to Noam, who is ringing another bird. Nadav, I see what you're up to. We'll hopefully go back to the Khula Valley soon. Noam.
Yes, so this bird is called the laughing dove. It's actually extremely common in our cities. It likes to walk between cars and people on the boardwalks. It is a especially calm bird. Usually when you don't have to do much to make it calm. You just give it a small hug, touch it a little bit, and it will just stay in your hand. You see, it's an amazing bird. They are not of our touch. And most birds, when you touch them a little bit, they just stay a little bit. Never mind, we didn't take all the measurements. Never mind, Iris is a bit angry. And I want to tell you about a small excitement we have at the ringing station here. Just 4 days ago, we caught a bird we never saw in Israel called the Chestnut Bunting, arriving from eastern Siberia. And we were really stung. Like we opened the bag. Adi, our volunteer, said something unusual. She doesn't know what it is, a yellow-red bird. And we had a Chestnut Bunting. Now, this bird comes from the far east of Siberia, of Russia, going wintering in Southeast Asia. And wow, what a giant surprise. The first for Israel and a lot of excitement for the birders and ringers of Eilat.
Okay, thank you, Noam. We're going to go to Amir, who I can see has got 2 bags behind him. So, Amir, what you got? I can't hear you, Amir. You're muted.
We have an interesting bird that's a very long distance migrant. This is called the siskin, and siskins come to Israel from Scandinavia. This is a woodland species that usually thrives in conifers, and it's a very common bird in the taiga. Now, this bird overwinters around Israel, and it's pretty common in winter. And just a year ago, we actually caught our first control from Finland. So this very small seed eater, and you can see it has this very cone-shaped beak that is specializing in opening conifers and eating little seeds that are found abundantly in wintertime. And look at the color. This is a beautiful male in its winter coat, which is a bit paler than the spring coloration. And look at this amazing wing pattern. Look at the color of this bird. So this is a very delicate migrant coming in from Scandinavia. Off it goes.
All right, so let's go to Yuval, who has a plover who's been waiting very patiently to be talked about. Yuval.
So yeah, this pool, the ecological pool in Park Ariel Sharon, doesn't stop surprising. I found a spur-winged plover. It's a really interesting bird that is connected to shallow water, open areas here in Tel Aviv. It feeds on small invertebrates it finds in the mud, usually. And the interesting story about this plover is that it has a special spur in its wing. It's not exactly a bone, but it's a kind of something that this plover can use against all kinds of invaders to its territory. And even elephants in Africa are afraid to deal with this plover when it tries to protect its nest on the ground. A spur-winged plover from Ariel Sharon Park.
And Yuval, very quickly, what does it actually do to protect its net? Like, what does it do with these spurs?
You know, in fact, the spur-winged plover was almost becoming the national bird of Israel because it's a character. It's a very, very assertive bird. It knows to protect what it's important for him. And it can kind of create so much noise and so much fuss around that even the biggest mammals will run away and not eat its eggs laying on the ground.
Fair enough. Okay, thanks very much for that. I did not know that. Okay, let's go back to Amir, who I see has still got some birds ringing. Noam is looking for a new spot, and Nadav is also, I think, looking for some birds. But Amir. Amir, what's behind you? What you got?
As I said, the commonest migrant during the first and second week of November, as you gathered, is the Eurasian robin, another one.
It's the same one as from before, Amir.
No, it's not the same one. It's a consecutive one. And at the moment, we're enjoying a really intensive wave of robins. Just as in Eilat, they have an intensive wave of blue throats. We're enjoying a nice passage of Eurasian robins. So the aim is to try to capture as many robins as we can, because the more rings we produce, the better chances of us of getting a return. So these are still a mystery to us, because to this day, we have never received an answer from an Israeli-controlled robin from anywhere outside of Israel, okay? We do control local movements, but never before we have received messages from Russia, Eastern Europe, and this is very interesting because probably this bird comes from really the eastern part of Russia, where there are hardly any scientists doing any bird brain. So from this point of view, we still don't know where our robins are coming from. So this is something very important to know. The other thing is most of the robins that pass through the JBO are juvenile robins. These are first-year robins that have just hatched in Europe. And this is the first voyage from their breeding grounds. And they will find their territory in Israel or somewhere around the Middle East. And they will return to that territory year after year on the same dates. And how do I know, how do I age this bird? Well, in some birds, it's very tricky. But with robins, I'm looking for these yellow spots. These yellow spots on the secondary coverts. Every feather on a bird has a name. So this is a secondary covert, and it has these little pale spots. So I'm going to release this bird, and you can see that we start educating in a very early age. So this robin is being set free. Whoop, okay. There it goes.
Bye-bye, Robin. Okay, let's go to Nadav, who has something much, much bigger than a robin. Hello, Nadav.
Hi, everybody, again. This is a common buzzard from the fields of the Hula Valley at the moment. Common buzzards come to us from Eastern Europe and Western Russia. And this is a bird of prey. You can see the massive legs. And if it turns to us, you can also see, oh yeah, now you can see the bill, which is suitable to tearing pieces of flesh from its prey. They prey on small mammals mainly, up to the size of a hare or a rabbit, and they come to Israel only for the winter. This buzzard probably arrived to Israel about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it will stay in the field of the Hula Valley for the entire winter, and they will leave in the next spring. So this winter, the valley has to provide for this buzzard for the entire time. If you will not find enough food in here, you will just basically starve to death, or you won't be strong enough to migrate back to its breeding ground and start another breeding cycle.
Amazing.
It's a beautiful and medium-sized bird of prey.
Definitely worth to wait for you to come back to you, Nadav. All right, we're going to go back to Yuval, who has a much prettier bird than Noam. Sorry, Noam. The Kingfisher is much nicer.
Well, in the meantime, the white-breasted Kingfisher has arrived to the pool, planning to dive on a fish here in the ecological pool. You can see it's a beautiful blue back. How its bill is built so strong and long, especially built for catching fish and other small animals. The legs of these kingfishers are so tiny that they cannot even walk on them. They can only perch and
wow.
just flew away.
All right. Wow, I did not know they couldn't walk. All right, you've got a heron.
Yes, so this is the gray heron. We have moved from the salt ponds towards the Anita Lake, which is a freshwater lake, and the fish eaters are common here. This is the gray heron, which is arriving from Europe. It will probably spend all winter around here. And this lake is actually full of other birds too. And you can see there is a little egret fishing. You see? And, it's an amazing bird that looking for food actively, just walking in the water all the time. And when it finds the fish has no chance. This very, very spiky bill is up here. It was trying one. So this very spiky bill leaves no chance for the birds. For the fish. Now behind the egret, you can see something pretty interesting. That's our photography hide. and a photographer which is supposed to be sitting inside, maybe it's sleepy, is missing the show. So if you come to the bird sanctuary and you're a bird photographer, look what you've got. Your lens are just above the water, you get a perfect angle and you get the whole show. So this is the show of the little egret catching fish, and it just goes on all day long. It's eating again and again and again. I cannot really understand how they eat so much fish.
Oh no, I thought you were going to say the interesting thing was you had a laughing dove fishing for fish in the background.
Well, maybe it was fishing, maybe it wasn't. I'm not so sure about that, Lawrence, actually.
I probably doubt it. Anyway, bring on the ducks is all I can say. All right, Amir, have you got a bet? Amir, have you got anything?
Yes, I'd like to introduce one of our staff.
No, it's the dog.
This is Arik, our Belgian Malinois, and he works with us in the JBO. His job is to patrol the grounds and make sure that the birds are safe. So as you can see, the staff of the JBO is very varied. We have volunteers from all ages and from all species. That's what I have in store for you right now. Maybe we'll have some more birds.
Okay, let's go to Yuval. I don't know what, Yuval has some twigs.
No, nothing at the moment. Nothing at the moment.
Okay.
Still looking for birds.
All right, let's go back to Noam and see if Noam has anything in his world. Oh, well, it's got a heron again, just out of focus heron.
Yeah, heron. Well, this now it's better. That's another gray heron. The place is just swarmed with the gray herons. And you can see that it is sitting in front of the bird hide. You see it, or the blind, as people say in the UK. And this heron is now looking for fish underneath, and people can go behind it, inside the hide, watch it without disturbing it. The whole concept of the hide is the people are in the shade, in the dark, and the birds are in the open and in the light. Therefore, they don't see the people, and it is much better for the birds. With hides, with these blinds, birds can actually use the whole habitat. Because in other sites, which are not bird sanctuaries, the birds can only use the places where people are not around. So here the people can be around while the people are here, so the birds can enjoy the whole habitat. And something pretty new to Eilat Bird Sanctuary we have for the last few weeks, and this is a roost of herons. Maybe Iris can identify the herons from far away. She's with me. So these are mainly little egrets and maybe some cattle egrets too, and some night herons that you don't see, not because they're not there. They are there, but they're just totally camouflaged, and you have no chance to spot them. So our bird sanctuary is becoming a heronary, not for breeding, but at least for roosting during the winter.
Okay, and, okay, thank you, Noah. Let's go to Amir.
Okay. So guys, I've gone out from the Ariel ringing station onto our grounds just to show you some of the habitat that we manage here for birds and people. On one side, we have the bird hide. And on the other side, we have the Neiman Pond, which is a beautiful pond that was named after the Neiman couple from New Jersey that have been our friends for many years and have been helping us a lot. And when you are wondering why do birds pass through the JBO and what's the added value for a migrating bird, well, you can see this is wild pistachio. And wild pistachio has a lot of sugar in it and also a lot of oils in the seed itself. So this is a very sought after food. Nice and sour. So when people come to the JBO, they enjoy this beautiful landscape through our bird hide, and the birds enjoy food and of course this little wetland habitat that is very, very important for the bird. It's designed in such a way that every migrant will approach, will bathe, in this little spring and spring-like stream. The little waterfall attracts the birds like a magnet. The sound and the movement of water, and all these sticks that you see here are placed so the birds will have a good place to stand and prepare for bathing, because this is a very dangerous part of the day because they can be predated by a snake or maybe a sparrowhawk. So a lot of the birds will stand here, bathe, and of course people will enjoy the view through the bird hide. And you can see our volunteers from the States, and Sasha, volunteer from Israel, and they're doing some chores here, and they're doing amazing work, just putting some white paint on the soiled walls. It's fantastic. Very good job, guys. Thank you very much. Back to you, guys.
I'm actually going to say, it doesn't look like anyone has a bird at the moment. I know I can see they're frantically looking. So if anyone has any questions, now is probably a good time to ask them, because it's getting dark here, so we're not going to have too many more birds, I think. I will say that we'll be back. We've been doing these webinars regularly. We've had a little bit of a hiatus for the holidays and post-holiday period, but I will say we will be back in 2 weeks' time for a presentation about one of our longer to achieve projects, which has been releasing gazelles into the wild from the Gazelle Valley. Which
Lawrence,
was, yes,
we have a bird.
We have a bird. Okay, fine. Which I'll just finish my thoughts and say that the next webinar is on the Sunday, the 21st of November at 8 p.m. Israel time. That's 1 p.m. in New York. But Amir, come then, let's see your bird.
Okay, we're going to finish with this amazing bird. This our smallest migrant is called a little chiff-chaff. And it's called a chiff-chaff because that's the sound it makes. Chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff. The chiff-chaffs are leaf impersonators. They look like a little leaf, and they're very, very well camouflaged birds. And they are the last to arrive to the JBO. They will spend most of the winter with us until March. And they are so delicate. You can see that they have this very, very, very thin beak that's adapted to little insects that they find around our little pool. And they feed on mites. So they're amazing for the whole rose garden because they're really mite predators. And they are very small. They weigh around 6 grams. And they will fly from Russia to Israel in about a week, which is very, very fast for this small, minute bird. So we're very happy to have this really cute bird that loves our Nieman Pond and our habitat. And look at this beautiful white eye stripe with its little green forehead. And I'm going to release it very, very fast so it can carry on feeding and prepare for winter.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go to Yuval, who has some feathers, I believe.
Yeah, you know, here in Park Ariel Sharon, I've collected some feathers. You know, feathers are maybe the gems of nature. You know, I'm collecting feathers for the last maybe 30 years. And sometimes it's amazing what you can find on the ground. For me, it's special even more than a diamond, you know. It's the diamonds of the birds. And these feathers are belonging to a curlew and a cuckoo, a Eurasian cuckoo. It's a really, really shy bird, the Eurasian cuckoo. And by the feathers, I can know this bird is stopping here for the migration, auto migration. By the way, you know, the birds molt their feathers. They change their feathers every year, sometimes twice a year or even more than twice a year. And they do this especially at the end of summer before autumn starts. So if you're a feather collector, this is the best time to look for feathers. And we have a special community of feather collectors here in Israel. Average age is 14. I'm considered the oldest, I think. And so if you have any good feathers, I'll be glad to swap them with you.
Okay, well, Nadav has some feathers on a bird. Oh, it's a black mixed-shouldered kite. Yes,
It's the black-shouldered kite, yeah. One of your favorites, Lawrence, huh?
No, I'm not as partial to it as you guys are. I don't. It was already common by the time I made Ali, before the time I got to birding. I never had the rarity time.
It's just a beautiful, small-sized bird of prey. It's called the black-shouldered kite. This is a young bird. At the moment, there is like 3 or 4, I think 4 of these young birds around. It's probably a clutch that just fledged out of the nest. They have a wonderful story because they used to be very rare in Israel until about 10 years ago. And then in 2011, we recorded the first breeding record of black-shouldered kites in Israel. And since then, they have been spreading throughout the country. I think any estimation now of around 1,000 pairs in Israel would be fair. And in the Hula Valley, they're sometimes more common than common kestrels. They're breeding through the year, completing 4 up to 5 breeding cycles a year, 3, sometimes even 4. This is wonderful. It's a wonderful bird. Up to 4 chicks went up to 4 chicks in a clutch, and now it's hovering. I try to catch it in mid-air. Now it's going to be too hard for me. So back to you, Lauren. And
yeah, sure. We're gonna. So one person in the chat wrote about asked about the vulture poisoning, which is a tragic event from I believe it was about a week and a half ago. So I'm just going to go back to Yoav, our director, who I'm hoping can tell us a little bit more about it and what Espionage is going to do to try and prevent these tragedies happening again. Yoav, are you with us? Okay. Yoav is not there. Alen, would you like to talk about it a bit? No, Yoav. No. Okay. Okay. Nadav, I see, is in the Hula Valley. I'm just so I'm just going to say a little bit about visiting us. I'm just going to go to Noam's screen because he has something interesting. But I'm just going to very quickly say to those who want to visit us, we are open all year round. Israel is now officially open for tourists again. You just have to make sure you are vaccinated and have a negative PCR test, and then you can get out of quarantine very, very swiftly. I know this because my mum is hopefully visiting her new grandchild who she hasn't seen yet in a few weeks. So you can visit Eilat, Noam in Eilat, the International Birding Research Center of Eilat, which is about 10 minutes outside the main hotel strip. Alen and Amir are in the middle of Jerusalem, exactly next to the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and they are open and free. And I'll just say that at nighttime, which I love the most, is they have porcupines and hedgehogs living at the JBO, and they come out. But you can also go during the day to see the birds. And with all birds, the best time to see them is in the early morning or late evening because they don't like it so much. Oh, what birds? Is that actually a real bird there? What bird have you got there?
No,
it's a plant.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say, maybe because of this this recognition we got from the UN, a bird sanctuary is not just birds and people. It's also a hub. It's a hub for nature conservation culture, for environmental culture. And one of the parts of environmental culture is art. And you can see this is actually our toilets. Yes, that's what you are looking at. Iris painted that. And I want to show you this guy. This is the city bird of Eilat. It's called the white-eyed gull. And do you know what happened to it? It ate too much plastic in the sea. So this is a part of our yearly event of awareness to plastic pollution in marine environment and the problem of seabirds, which are feeding on feeding on plastic on the beach. And look at this guy. Just look how the bird sanctuary is built. It's built like a museum, maybe a show. This little fellow was built by Tina, which is a local artist. She volunteered it actually. And this is the white-breasted kingfisher that you saw in Park Ariel Sharon. And you can see our toilets. And the last thing I want to show you is our new ringing station. You just have to see it. It's all painted with all kinds of birds. And this, you can see the globe and all the migratory birds which are surrounding the globe. So it is very important that the bird sanctuary is a great place for birds, a great place for bird watchers, but our theory of change, what we want to achieve is actually goes through the public opinion. And public opinion needs some culture. So if you want to do something environmentally cultural, the bird sanctuary is your home, is your hub. And we are hosting here a lot of talks about new books or lectures about environment, not only about birds. This is very, very important for us to be a hub, just to serve the people as a place where environment is very, very important.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so Yoav's come back to us. So
Lawrence,
Yoav,
this is Alan. Can I just jump in real quick before we end that, sir? And I just want to follow up from what Noam is saying. And just to say that he keeps mentioning Iris, who we saw bird ringing with him. We're also these bird observatories. There's Iris, she's up on the screen. Hi, Iris. We are what do I call it? A hub also for the next generation. So we are not only catching birds in our stations, and we're not only providing programs for people, but we're catching kids as they come in. We see their eyes light up. We see them interested in what's going on, and we catch them into different programs and into our after-school programs. And many of them are going on to become our young ornithologists, our young researchers, like Iris joining our ringing teams, and they're becoming the generation for tomorrow. So all this art and the research and the conservation and the education, it plays off each other and creates a very important generator for conservation and research programs around the country. And as we finish our week in Glasgow with the COP21, and we're talking about climate change, biodiversity is a key issue that is being talked about for mitigating the climate change. And this is where it's all beginning. And with that, I pass it on to Yoav. Again, we hope to see you all here in Israel. Come visit.
Yeah. So Yoav, we had a question in the chat about the vulture poisoning from I guess it was about a week and a half ago now. And I just love if you could share, just give a quick recap of what happened and what Espionage is going to do to try and prevent these tragedies from happening in the future.
Okay, so first of all, it's about 2 weeks ago, there was a large-scale poisoning event in the south of Israel in the desert. It killed 12 Eurasian griffins or griffin vultures. It's about 10% of the breeding population in Israel, close to that. So it's a significant event, very sad, very enraging. I mean, it's so frustrating because the Israel Nature and Parks Authority, together with us and other partners, invest so many efforts, huge efforts, to try and do whatever we can to protect our breeding raptors, the kings of the sky, especially in the desert regions in Israel. And then the actions of one criminal destroy years and years and years of hard work. As far as I know, the perpetrators haven't been found yet. It's very likely that they were herders trying to defend their herds against the attacks from stray dogs or wolves or jackals or other carnivores living in the rangelands of the eastern Negev. Of course, this poisoning is highly illegal, and I know that the Israel Nature and Parks Authority, together with other intelligence and security forces, are trying to find the perpetrators. I do hope that they will succeed. However, currently there is a problem with the current legislation limiting the effectiveness of the investigators, and also in the best case scenario that the perpetrators get caught and brought to justice, they will very likely get away with an embarrassing fine. Currently, the SPNI is working in the political scene to try and adapt the current laws regulating these actions to adapt it to our current reality, that it's a huge, these poisoning events are a huge imminent threat to the raptors of Israel. We're doing all we can to make this legislation change happen, working with other partners in the SPNI and other organizations, and I hope that we'll succeed soon. Currently, we have a very, very supportive Minister of Environment, Mrs. Tamar Zandberg, and we have high hopes that together with her team, we will manage to do more for conservation in Israel. But currently, as far as I know, the investigation is still going on, and fingers crossed that they will succeed with their task.
All right. Thank you very much, Yoav. Nadav, Nadav's got some more birds, or he's got the same birds from before. Let's go to Nadav to show us the cranes. I'll just say that we are, hold on, no, Nadav, before you start, because they're not going anywhere. I was just going to say we're going to officially wrap up now. So just thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. We're going to continue for a bit with, while they're still, Yuval and Nadav and Noam are still all finding birds, and Amir too. No, Nadav, this is grass. But thank you very much to everyone who joined us, especially respect to those on the West Coast who got up ludicrously early to enjoy the show. So thank you very, very much. We hope you enjoyed it. As I said, we'll be back again in 2 weeks' time for a webinar about how we've been saving the Israeli gazelle from extinction by releasing animals into the wild, which is a very interesting story, a very challenging project. So we hope you'll join us. Our CEO, Iris Hans, has come back from COP26 in Glasgow. I'm hoping we'll get her on to share her thoughts, and we'll have hopefully have our full program up in the next few weeks. So we'll be going through to Pesach. And Nadav, if you want to swing the camera around, so we'll, I guess I can hear some cranes, and I guess hopefully we'll see some too.
Yeah, I just want to show you the general view of the Hula Valley, agricultural view. We're just moving now west to east. These are the Golan Heights in the background at the moment, and Mount Hermon to the north of the valley. And I'm going to take you now with me through the scope. You see some cranes that are pre-roosting at the moment. They're gathering together. I hope you can hear the sound.
Yeah, we can hear the sound. It's amazing. I can't believe we can hear this so loud that we can pick it up.
Yeah, 60,000 cranes at the moment in the Hula Valley, or about that, foraging in the fields for peanuts, mainly peanuts leftovers. Yeah, the sound is great. Mainly peanuts leftovers. Peanuts are being grown in the Hula Valley through the summer, and they've just been harvested in October. And there are lots of at the moment there are lots of leftovers in the field, and the farmers don't mind that. In about 2 weeks or a month time, depending on the rain, the farmers will start to sow the winter crops, wheat and peas and carrots and garlic. and then conflicts will start between the cranes that will want to eat the seeds and the farmers will want to protect their crops. And for almost 30 years now, 20 years, there is a project, there's an ongoing project that the SPNI is a part of creating an alternative feeding area for the cranes here in the Agamon Hula Park, in cooperation with the farmers and the JNF and the National Parks Authority, to actually create an alternative for the cranes and to chase them away from the farmers' fields and feed them in another in a designated field for the cranes. The problem is that it's a costly project, and the cranes are getting more and more cranes are overwintering in the Hula Valley, and it costs more money, and it's an ongoing project that needs to be funded mainly by the farmers and by the Agamon Park. And it's an ongoing project but we will need to somehow find solutions on how to fund it and how to manage it.
Nadav or Alen, do you want to say a little bit what about Shemitah? There's been a few questions about the Shemitah sabbatical year, where there's no planting in Israel. So what are the birds digging up? Alen, I don't know if you want to answer that, or Nadav.
At the moment, they're picking up
leftovers
right from last year. Yeah.
Yeah, you can harvest what was planted last year, but you can't replant if you're keeping Shemitah. Although there's a lot of different ways that that the farmers arrange to not get around it, but lots of different exemptions to the law of Shemitah. But I believe these peanuts were planted last year, and yeah, they're leaving the bits and pieces in the fields for the birds to eat, gleaning the fields, which is exactly what Shemitah is all about. So that's fantastic.
Okay, I just want to say to Barbara Kite, the 6-gram bird doesn't eat mice; it eats mites. Mites, as in little flies, not actual big mice. That would not work. And I'll just say to Alen and Nadav, as Judaism has lots and lots of loopholes, so there are plenty of loopholes for Shemitah too.
Yes.
So I think I think we'll just spend a couple of minutes just staring at the cranes because they're beautiful and awesome. I love the sounds. And then I think we're gonna call it. We're gonna close today. I just want to spend. I just like to take a moment to thank Yuval, Amir, Alen, Yoav, Nadav, who's there, Noam, in Eilat. Noam, I looking at Noam has a beautiful picture. I'm just gonna go quickly switch to Noam because it's so beautiful, and then we'll come back to Nadav and the cranes. It's just beautiful here with the flowing water and the sunset in Eilat. So Noam, do you want to say goodbye quickly?
Yes, thank you, Lawrence, for your help for our mission. And this is the beautiful evening in Eilat. It's getting really dark soon. You can see our Anita Lake and the Dome Mountains in the back. Nature conservation is what drives us, and our mission to safeguard the flyway in Southern Arabia in Eilat. We are really happy to be with you guys this evening.
Those of you who are thinking of watching these pictures and thinking, oh, I'd like to be there, we have the Eilat Bird Festival coming up in March, and we look forward to seeing you. That will be in the Eilat area, and it's a great way to come and get immersed into bird migration in the spring.
Yeah, as I said before, the borders are opening up again. We're having tourists. If you want to have a tour, please just send us an email to Yonatan Meirav. His email is jm2bird@gmail.com, or just reply to any of the emails you've got promoting the webinar. Send us a Facebook message, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much. Loving the cranes, but I think it's I think it's time to say goodbye, and we'll see you all again, hopefully again in 2 weeks' time. See how we're saving the Israeli mountain gazelle from extinction. Thank you very much, everyone. Well done, birds. You did a good show today. That egret is just like pretending to be a crane. I love it. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Get home safely, you guys, and have a great day, people in America, and for everyone else, have a great afternoon/evening around the world, and also night for the people in Seoul who are with us. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.